Yo, it's Captain, bringing you a Star Rail Captain's Log 2.2-9. Had to check we weren't at 10 yet. Although, we will be. Because we did not finish it today. I wanted to. I got started later than I wanted. I'm also very tired because I got very little sleep. And I'm running way behind. So we'll see if I'm less coherent this video. That'd be why. It might actually be a shorter video because there was just a lot of big things that happened, but it's all kind of like one thing. And so it's not so much there's so many like scenes to go over. There's like a couple, and I guess there's like two or three major things to talk about. But really it just kind of built up and then hit. Um, would you consider it a second climax of chapter 3? Yeah, probably. It's probably hit a second climax, and then that's where we ran out of time. It's actually a really great place to stop for the day, but there's not too much left, so we should be fine to finish it tomorrow. Would have been nice to finish it today, but here we are. So what did we do? This is the 9th time I have played 2.2, the Trailblaze mission, the main story quest essentially for Star Rail. This is as far as I could tell, the end of chapter 3. If there is more to chapter 3, like in a future patch, it'll just be resolution stuff. Probably. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't got to the end. But we're fighting the big boss and stuff, so it's at very least the climax of it's the major arc. If there's another bit afterwards where it's like, well, what do we do with it? And there's backup, who knows? But but like, I mean, this is the big deal. This is the big one, right? It feels like they're even making references from 2.0, which was the start of chapter 3. So like they're tying it in full circle. This is the Penacony story. And we're hitting so we're hitting the second climax of it. Essentially, we went from the first climax to the second. If you remember last one, it was the first climax. You fight the big boss, and you win. And it's a little easier than you thought, and everything goes really well, and everyone's really happy, and people aren't really acting like themselves, but they're all very amenable and nice, and everything's fun, and you get to go pick the next destination. And you're back on the train. You're like, well, we've saved the day, it's time to continue on. And you just do, and it's all very fast, and it's just all a little too perfect, and there's definitely some holes. And then it plays, but it's like whatever you want, and then it plays the credits. And the credits are a little weird, but they're mostly, it's mostly credits. Everything seems fine. And that's where we stopped last time. We saw the credits. Right before it triggers the credits and says you beat the game, which is a lot. It doesn't say it directly, but it like implies you didn't just beat Penacony, you beat everything. You're the hero of everything. It's just like, this is a little odd. Black Swan talks to you right beforehand, and she says, I know you got some questions, and some things aren't making all the much sense, but maybe I'll tell you, maybe I'll tell you as like a bedtime story one time later. And then the conductor, Pom Pom, says it's time to go, and it plays the credits. Well, right after the credits, Black Swan starts to talk to you, and she gives you like a little flowery statement, and then she says it's time for a bedtime story. So here's where she's going to explain the things. That's where we cut it for time. And I'm actually really glad we did, because the next screen is her saying, okay, let me tell you the end of the story first. The Astral Express lost, Sunday and the Order won, and everyone on Penacony is trapped in eternal sleep. And you're like, excuse me? You're like, excuse me? He's like, yeah, you totally lost. You totally you didn't win at all. You're screwed. You're in the sleep. And then she says, but there might be hope. Right? There might be hope. And then she starts guiding you. Essentially, you need to wake up. Essentially, you need to wake up from the dream that you're in, where everything's perfect and everything's nice. That's why stuff isn't adding up. Because you're dreaming. He got you. You're in the dream. And I think I identified the exact moment based on pretty soon you get into a conversation with Black Swan and Acheron, and I think I identified the exact moment. I'm not sure. I don't know if they will ever tell us. But just for my personal perusal, my personal investigation, that's better. I told you I'm a little tired. It seems to be right when you beat the boss. Right when you beat the boss. He says something along the lines, you beat the big boss, and he says something along the lines of, this is exactly how it's supposed to go, now I'm going to do my big thing. And then Dan Hung and the general come in with the Cloud Knights and save the day. That part wasn't real. I think he said, and now it's time for my final stroke, and he did it, and you're in the dream, and then you see the awesome cutscene, but totally fake cutscene of you winning, and everything's great. I could talk about more why I think that is when we get to the next scene, but so Black Swan now has to wake you up, and it's really cool because like you're still maybe in disbelief. Like maybe you didn't stop like I did and had a lot of time to think about how nothing makes sense. Maybe you're just playing along and it's moving pretty quickly from the boss fight. It's moving pretty quickly to try to not give you much of a chance to guess. It is giving you hints. And the further you go, the more hints it's giving you. And so you might be like, this is a little weird, but it just keeps moving. And next thing you know, it's playing the credits. So you just you probably haven't put it together yet, and you're just scratching your head. And then she lays it on you. You totally lost. And so you're just like slapped in the face, right? And so they're still trying to help you get there. So she's like, all right, I need to help. I need to get you there. And she kind of recaps your whole story from the beginning of chapter 3 to now. She talks about how you first met Acheron in the pre-dream when you got here, and then you met Misha when you landed, and then what was the next thing? I think there was one and then like, you get Acheron, Aventurine threatens you and Acheron saves you, and then Sparkle like knocks you out and you end up in the child's dream, and then you find out that Firefly gets rescued by Black Swan, and I'm just recapping it myself now, but there was like, it was a really nice and then Firefly figures out something and tries to tell you, but it didn't go quite right and she died, and then we found out Robin died, and then you realize they're not dead, and Aventurine gets you to slash himself, and you end up in Dreamflux Reef, and you figure out all the answers and just all this stuff. It was a really nice, I was gonna go through it because it does like a slideshow. It's like a really nice piece of art from each major event, and I think it does a really good job of recapping this huge story very quickly. And I thought I could do it really quickly, and it didn't. Whatever. Whatever. So then she asks you, the key to this is there is a fatal flaw in these memories. Because remember, she took that card from you, and she told you that card wasn't really like a help card. It was just her way of collecting your memories so she could keep all your memories and stuff. So she took that card from you, and she says, I've looked through this all, and now she's just recapped it all with you. There's a fatal flaw in here, and you need to figure out what it is. It's really important. And she asks you a question. What's the fatal flaw? And it gives you options where you can kind of pick from each of the scenes she just described, like which one isn't right. People told me if you pick the wrong one, she gives you a hint because there is a right answer. I got the right answer on my first try. It is the scene with Misha, because you meet Misha in reality. He is a bellboy at the hotel before you go into the dream. As you play through the story, very recently, in fact, you learn that Misha is the watchmaker's legacy that he left to you, the future Trailblaze, to help you along the journey. And what Misha is the watchmaker's memories as a child. The Misha is the watchmaker as a child, and he has all the watchmaker's memories, so he can tell you what's going on when the future Nameless, the future Trailblazers, you show up on Penacony as his last attempt to save Penacony before he dies, because he's dying. He's like, the last thing I can do is leave these memories behind and have a plan for the future Nameless to come by, and maybe they will finish the job. Maybe they'll help me out. What does that mean? That means Misha's not real. That means Misha is a dream creation. Just he's essentially one of the cartoon characters, like Clocky or the Origami Birds. So how the hell did you meet him in reality if he's a dream creation? That's the flaw. That's the flaw. And once you realize that, Black Swan's like, that's correct. Now wake up. And you wake up into the dream, the broken hotel, the maintenance hotel dream. And you're like, oh no. Oh no. You then walk out the door, and Black Swan's there and Acheron's there, and Acheron, thanks Black Swan for waking her up, and you kind of get this. It's really nice because Black Swan kind of disappeared after 2.0, and she seemed to be like a pretty important character, and then she just didn't have anything to do, but now she does again. Since she's a memo keeper and she has more experience with this whole, memories and fake memories and things aren't real and finding flaws, she's helping everybody wake up. So basically, her and her memo keepers, wake up all your friends and whatever. And Acheron thanks her, so presumably she woke up Acheron too. It's a little unclear because Acheron also says that because she's Nihility, like this stuff, the Order couldn't affect her as much. So it's like, oh, did she wake herself up? But I think Black Swan woke her up. I could be wrong. And these two kind of explain to you, Acheron and Black Swan, these two kind of explain to you that everyone's stuck in the Order's dream, in Inna's dream, Inna the Order, the Eon. Everyone's stuck in the dream, and everything's, and they explain that it wasn't really to put everybody to sleep. That's not what they're using the Stellaron to do. They use the Stellaron to catalyze the memoria leakage into reality. And you're like, what? They used it to bring the dream into reality. So they used the Stellaron to merge the dream and reality, to blend it. And so the dream started showing up in reality, and people's realities started to become the dreams, and then people couldn't tell the difference. And because of this blending, they were able to just slowly get those people stuck in the dream, get their wills aligned, get their wishes aligned, right? And then he was able to take, using the Stellaron and the will of all the Oak members who he had kind of manipulated, or just under his control, and then everybody's wishes to be in the dream when they're already kind of half in it. He used it to just solidify the situation, and now this whole, I presumably this whole area is just dream and reality. And there's actually hints to this in the story. There's a couple, I remember wondering about it. There's a couple times, I think at Dreamflex Reef, or maybe Misha Watchmaker, when he talks to you, he says something about merging dream and reality. It's just one line and then it moves on. You're like, wait, when did that happen? What do you mean merging dream and reality? And I think they mentioned it somewhere else too. And kind of when you're talking to Sunday or talking about Sunday, there's this idea that he's not just trying to take over Penacony, he's trying to like solve the world's problems by putting them all in the dream. And like, how could he do that? You know, how does he have that much ambition for it? Well, that's it. He's not just, he's putting everybody, he's not just trapping everyone in the dream. He's turned reality into the dream. And, you know, presumably from there, he could even expand it. Like anybody goes over there gets stuck. It's not like you have to go into the dream machine anymore and then you just can't get out. No, if you are in Penacony, you're in the dream. So I think that's the implication. And you're like, holy snaps. And the idea is, because of this merging, like, so the question is like, what did everything we experienced was fake? And Black Swan says the only thing I think was fake is the flaw you found where you met Misha, where you met Misha in reality. She said everything else should be true because you needed to get here to have your wish fulfillment. You know, so you can look at that a couple of ways. Like the Trailblazer and the gang, Astral Express gang, had to get all the way to like saving Penacony to have their wish fulfillment and then move on to other planets because that's what they wanted. They want to save the day and move on. But I think the way I look at it is that once you're on Penacony, you're already under the effect of the Stellaron, right? Because it's already blended the dream and reality. So if you're in Asdana's system, you're under the effect of the Stellaron, and it's kind of just waiting for its chance to slip the dream on you. And depending on who you are and what you want, that could be a lot of different things. A lot of people just come and they want to be at a resort and they want to forget all their troubles. So it's really easy. They just come, they go to sleep in the dream machine, and then they're in the dream and they don't want to leave. Well, it's got them. But for you, that's not what you wanted, right? You're here to save the day. You're here to do things. So you had to go through all the steps of actually opposing Sunday. You went all through that with Aventurine because, right, you guys all have different goals. You're not trying to be caught in the dream. And then it goes all the way. You're able to resist it all the way to the boss fight where it finally sees an opportunity to trap you in the dream. And that's during the boss fight when it looks like you've done a little bit. You didn't kill the boss, but the dream kicks in. It shows you killed the boss, and it's got you. Right? So everything that happened was real. You did do it. It was just waiting for that moment where it could trap you in the dream. And for us, since our goal wasn't anything but saving Penacony, right? We had to get go through this whole thing until it could find a moment where it could give us what we wanted. Bam. So is it a little shaky? Like, well, why didn't they just dream us earlier or whatever? I mean, maybe. You could probably pick it apart, but that's kind of my thought of how this works. That's why everything was real, which I would have been really upset if everything wasn't real. I said, if I wake up and everyone turns into seagulls, I'm gonna be a little pissed. I did like that game, but I don't want it done in other games. I don't need Firefly to turn into a seagull. So that's why I think they managed to do it. No, everything did happen. It's only this last little bit that you've been tricked in, and that little bit is because you know of your unique goals, and really the order's just trying to get everybody. You could also see it as like, because the Charmony Festival did happen, and the Charmony Festival is when the Harmonious Choir Septimus was summoned, and that is when like the Order Dream really took control. So, maybe I'm wrong and it's not just waiting for that chance. That was the moment that it won and succeeded. And all the other stuff, the merging of dream and reality was just, it wasn't like it was just using those things to fuel itself. I'm not entirely sure. I don't, does it matter at the end? No, it's interesting and it's fun. And it's a nice little mind trip for you. So you're like, all right, well, what do we do now? And as you go, so you need to meet up with everybody, right? They're like, okay, so we're trying to wake up the people, some key people who we know we can wake up, basically your friends and the people you know. And we're all meeting in the lobby. And so you head to the lobby and you see like all the regular people, like the NPCs. You walk by them and they're perfectly placid. And they're like, the dream is great. Everything's fine. Order's the best. And you can try to clockwork them. And it's the most terrifying. The whole clockwork thing paid off for me in the stage play, the third stage play, the future stage play, where everyone's in the order and you try to clockwork the puppets and they're like tied up by the strings and it says their emotion is satisfied and you can't change it because they are so controlled by the order that they are perfectly placid and happy, and they just cannot be changed because they're so tied up. They can't escape this satisfaction. Well, now when you try to clockwork the regular NPCs, they're all like that. Everyone's like that. Everyone's trapped, tied up, strung up in this satisfied, and you can't change it. You're like, ooh. So you cannot nudge them out of it. There is no way to nudge them out of the emotion they're in. Not with the power of clockwork. It's not strong enough. And you're like, it's scary. You're like, oh no, we really lost, didn't we? But you meet up, you end up in the lobby, and there was like a whole section where their little marker is really confusing. I felt vindicated because the long play I watched, because I rewatch it before I do these. The long play I watched also got lost. There's the little indicator they show you to get to the lobby. It just puts it in the lobby, and so it's just this ambiguous like, distance off, and it doesn't really show you how to get there. It doesn't like breadcrumb you like it usually does. And so you end up going like down the wrong hallway and you're like, well, this isn't right. And then you try another one, it's like, that's not right. And you try the door, it's like, well, this door doesn't even open. And it doesn't work. It doesn't make sense. And what you have to do is teleport, because the door you're supposed to go through that would be a clear route, they would still have to breadcrumb it. But once you figure out, the way you should go, my door was blocked. And it's because it's part of map exploration. You have to open that door from the other side. But if you haven't done all your map exploration, and you don't even need to have that door open, if you to have 100% map exploration, you could have done it and just not open the door. The door's still closed, and so you actually have to teleport or you can't get over there. So we teleported, and then I checked. I was like, let me go back. And yeah, all down the hallway is like the story stuff. So it's clearly the way you're supposed to go. And then I get to the door I couldn't open, and there's a little button, and you open the door, and then it's unlocked. I was like, whatever, ho-yo. You couldn't unlock this for people that hadn't done it yet? Whatever. It probably, probably like if you're playtesting it and you've already have map completion done, you would never known. But I did. I felt vindicated because I wasn't the only one. People in chat said they had trouble with it too. It's pretty funny. But yeah, so you go and you just see in more of these NPCs that are messed up, and then you finally meet Robin. I'm trying not to do super long videos. I'm super tired, but I'm thinking it's gonna go a little quicker from here, because like I said, it's really just this one big thing of explaining the twist and how it works, and then you make a plan on how to deal with the twist, and then you do it, and you see a really cool cutscene which I have queued up to show you, and then that's all as far as we got today. So we're into the plan of how we're gonna fix it. So Robin is there, and you meet her, and you find out she woke herself up. It's it's really sad. It's actually really dark and sad because in order to wake yourself up, you have to realize you're in a dream, right? So you have to find the flaw. Something's gonna be right. There's gonna be a glitch in the matrix. Robin's glitch in the matrix was she was remembering that scene with the bird that they tried to save, the Charmony dove, and how she wanted it to fly free, right? And Sunday, didn't he want it to stay safe in the cage? And he always had these dark statements about birds. People only think birds fly because they never see them crash and die, right? He always had these dark. Well, in her dream, it shows you, it replays the scene that she saw, and there's the dove, and she wants it to fly. And then Sunday says really nice things like, "Yeah, let's keep it in the cage and nurse it back to health so it can fly free, because birds are meant to fly free and be beautiful in the sky like they always were." And this was her clue. This was her clue. That Sunday finally agreed with her. That she got what she desperately wanted, which was her brother to be on her side and not fucking evil. And she's like, "No, that's not right." And then wakes up. This dude is heartbreaking. So she's there. Don Hung and Boothill. I almost said Don Hill. Don Hung and Boothill show up, and then you're all kind of there. You're trying to make a plan, right? And it's like, well, we've got several strong wills who've woken up, like us, the heroes. And Black Swan tells you she woke up. Her memo keepers woke up your other friends and stuff. But it's like, that's not gonna be enough. It's enough to create some discord in the dream, because Robin explains to us that in order to get back to the harmonious choir, to the boss, and stop it, we're all trapped in the dream together. We're harmonized. In order to get that boss to come back, we have to stop the dream. And well, it's not even stopping the dream. The dream does what everyone is desiring, right? And everyone's desiring just to fulfill their wishes. And so they're all just living out their wish fulfillment dreams. So she says what we have to do is get everyone to want to wake up, and then we'll be able to wake up and see the boss. I don't know if it like kills the dream and they actually wake up, or but that's how we have to get back to reality to see that boss. And we're like, we've got several key members creating some discord, but it's not enough, and so we need a plan. And this is pretty cool because Boothill actually gets to do something too now, which is nice to see Robin and Boothill actually do some things. Let's see. Let me see if I can get the order right. I did write it down. Just my notes from remembering it, but I'm so tired I don't remember right now. Yeah, so they will have a plan. They would need to bring in some other strong... Like, if everybody here is tied in, what if they can bring in other people who have a strong sense of free will? And they talk about, well, why don't we call the general? Like, we'll squeeze the lion. Apparently that never even happened. And Boothill's like, no, we don't need to do that. I'll tell you what. I can reactivate the Galaxy Rangers. And he has this nice speech about how we've been hiding for too long, and those cowards and mistreaters are thinking they're gonna have an easy ride because the Galaxy Rangers aren't back. You know what? I'm gonna light the fire. We're gonna bring them back. And he's gonna do this because of the thing that Acheron gave him from, that was her promise. That she presumably, right, that old man that she's been flashing back to, he was a Galaxy Ranger. Right, he had something he wanted her to give to a real Galaxy Ranger. And, that's why she pretended to be a Galaxy Ranger. And what it was is Boothill's like, I still got it. It's like a bullet. And Boothill's like, you don't know what this is. Only Galaxy Rangers can use this because this is like a burial ceremony. You shoot this, and Galaxy Rangers from all over, right? We don't work together or anything, but we all know when this goes off, a hero has fallen, and we will give them a hero send-off. and galaxy rangers from all over will show up as shooting stars in the sky, right? Like they all just fly by, you know. Um, which is really cool, right? Because remember, if you remember that old man, he said, all my friends died and they didn't even get, they deserve a hero send off, and he has the relic. He passes it on. He gives it to Boothill. Boothill's like, what this relic is a hero send off. So it's really cool. So he's like, I'll shoot this. We will get a bunch of very strong-willed Galaxy Rangers in. And it was really cool just to get some Galaxy Ranger lore, and it was really neat. Okay. Robin says she will sing. She will sing the Song of Harmony that she was supposed to do, but instead of it tainted with the order, she'll add the Trailblaze element, which is strongly associated with freedom. So she will essentially sing opposed to her brother, and that should help this whole scenario. However, this still isn't going to be enough. So they've got strong people awoken in the Dream Crate and Discord. They're bringing in people from outside with strong wills, and Robin's, singing a counter song, but it's not going to be enough. So Acheron says, well, that's why we got one more, because not everyone's going to choose to be heroes. They're going to have we're creating all these pushes for people to want to do the right thing, but it's still not going to be enough because not everybody will choose to do the right thing. But I can push people to want to save themselves, because right, they're trapped, and Penacony, Robin says Penacony needs to save itself. Acheron's like, so the final stroke will be to me convincing everybody that they need to save themselves. And I'm like, is she gonna threaten them? Like, what is what does she mean? It is kind of that. So everybody's like, all right, we got our plan, we're gonna go, and you start to enact it. Acheron stops you and gives you a little kind of, are you ready for this kind of thing? And then she says, I have to tell you something. One of the key, a lot of the keys, how we found you and how we found the keys to doing this, was owed to one person, and it's Firefly. She woke up on her own and sought out the Astral Express and gave us information on what's going on with the Order. Because presumably they all fall asleep on the Astral Express. Talk to Acheron at the very least. Maybe that's how Acheron got part of this plan. It's not really said what happened, but Acheron does tell us that the only thing is she's a stowaway, right? She's not hooked up to the Dream. She didn't get the family's assistance. In order to wake herself up like this, she had to pay a cost, and that was to die a real death. She says specifically real death, and they put quotes around death. Now, this is not given any, so it's like, wait, did Firefly actually die? I don't think so. Because one, there's no weight given to it. Trailblazer's not like, what do you mean, she's dead? And Acheron's like, yeah, she's dead. No, that didn't happen. It's off screen, right? It's just kind of said, she just had a real death, and we need to work really hard to honor this courageous young lady. Right? It's even less. It has even less weight than her first death, right? And if you remember, she said she has to die 3 times. Elio said she's gonna die 3 times. I think this is the 3rd death. I think the first death was when we saw the death meme killer, and she ended up in Dreamflex Reef. I think the 2nd death is when we all lost and got put to sleep, because they even said that would be a death, but they said it'd be the 3rd one. And I think whatever she did to wake herself up is the 3rd death. But if you just think about it chronologically, if she had to die to wake up, how did she go tell Acheron what they needed to know? It doesn't make sense. I don't think they mean that she's dead, but there's something. It's a little odd. It's like, are we supposed to think she's dead? I'm not sure. It was just an odd statement. And Acheron just kind of, I think the main implication is that Firefly isn't going to be here to help us. So we need to do this, um, you know, to honor her courageous sacrifice of what she did. They didn't even say sacrifice, but to honor her courage and how what she was able to do. So I think I think it's just supposed to mean that she's not going to be here to help us like everyone else is. But she just tells you that real quick, and then she says you're ready to go, and you pick a team to go. Tells you have to use the Trailblazer, which is kind of nice. And then instead of starting, you get a flashback. You get a flashback to Acheron and that old man, and they're gonna finish that story off. And I'm gonna be honest, I was just excited when I watched it because I kind of figured it out. But when I watched it back, or when I played it, because I figured it out. But when I watched it back on the long play, dude, it got me. I was like tearing up. It's a really powerful scene because you see this scene again, and she's there standing on next to the lake with the creepy black sun and everything, and the rain, and she's still talking with this guy, and you get the idea that it's been much, much longer. And instead of him saying all the things about how the paths, cause ripples and how people get stuck and all his friends got stuck, she's telling him this time. Because he's like, when is it going to stop raining? Remember, that's what she asked him, and she gives him all the reasons he gave her. But it's a bit different this time because it's implied that all of his friends finally made it out. Right? They finally have taken long enough and got all of his friends out of this nihility, black hole, repeated, like rebirth, sucked back into the black hole, rebirth, sucked back in the back, sucked back. I'm too tired to say it properly, but you understand. They got them all out of that. And remember, he said, I have to stay here until they all, I'm helping them transcend. Right? He said, I have to stay here until they're all gone, until they all figure it out and get saved, because they deserve a hero send-off, not to be stuck in this hell. Right? He had to have them gone before he could be at peace. Everyone else had to be saved. So as you're talking, so then he's like, Acheron's like, well, we got them all. And he's like, well, why is it still raining then? And she says, well, maybe there's somebody's regrets that are still lingering. And then she goes through the whole explanation again that he gave her about how these people are stuck here because they haven't moved on, because they still got some stuff to deal with, some things they haven't managed to go with, right? And then she says, and it's my job to help them because I travel with them until they figure it out. And who is she traveling with right now? Well, him, the old man. And he goes, oh, so it's like that, huh? And then the scene changes, and he's not like an old man. He's now a shadowy figure. And Acheron's in the red. And he's like, so I've been dead the whole time. And she's like, yeah. And he's like, and you've been helping me this whole time. She's like, yeah, that's what I do. That's my job. I'm the watcher of the Acheron, right? Which is the river Acheron, the river of woes. And it's revealed that this whole area, she has been trying to help these people get out of there, and she's got everyone but him, because she says he's the last one. And why is he the last one? Because his great regret was that all of his friends were stuck here. So she had to help all of his friends first to lift his regrets, because that's how you get out, right? And she says, I'm here to help people who don't want to be stuck in the nihility, help them come to this side of the shore and get out, and move on, pass on appropriately. And she's like, you're the last one. And and then he's like, well, am I ever going to see him again? And she's like, you will. I know you will, because you're the one who told me, right? She's like, I will carry on your last legacies. You can move on without regrets, because I will fulfill those regrets for you, right? And she's like, you're the one who told me about, all your friends and how they, you were. How did she? I'm trying because it's really good if you just watch it. I'm trying to give it to you in the best way. She's like, you're the one who told me about all your friends and how you were trying to save your friends, and then you got encountered by the swarm, but then you narrowly escaped because the Galaxy Rangers showed up and saved you, and then you were with the Galaxy Rangers. And she's like, and I'm like, oh my god, this guy's Tiernan. And then she says, and you're the one that told me about Penacony and how you desperately wanted to save it. And I'm like, oh my god, it's actually Tiernan. And then he talks, he's like, that's right, I had friends there and I never was able to go back because they never let me back. And these are his regrets, that these Galaxy Rangers that he traveled with and saved him didn't get a hero send-off, and that he never got to save Penacony. And then it like switches his name and it says Tiernan. And he's like, Mikhail, are you still there? And I just like, I'm watching this and I'm like tearing up, dude. Because this ties up several things. I guess this video is gonna be long. Damn it. I don't have time for this, man. I gotta sleep. It's important though. This is amazing for several reasons. It answers a lot of questions that didn't even need to be answered, and it's beautiful because it answers why Acheron is here. She is fulfilling this man's last wishes. So that he could move on, so that he could overcome the nihility. Because remember, her goal is to stop this nihility. She wants to get to the other side, where she's taken everybody else and cut this thing down. But it explains, right? She came to Penacony to help this guy, to see if she could save it. That's why she has been wanting to save Penacony with us, because that was this man's last wishes, his last regrets. Also, she did the whole Galaxy Ranger thing because that was also his last regrets. He wanted his friends to have the proper send-off, which she didn't even know what that was until Boothill shows up and explains it. And now, interestingly enough, those two last wishes are gonna coincide, because Boothill doing that proper send-off is going to help them save Penacony. And I just really, he's like, the last things he's talking about is, Michaela was still there, because he was never, everyone thought he was dead, right? He was never able to get back. But he still, you gotta remember, it's so many parallels to Mikhail, to the Watchmaker. Both of these men did everything they could, right? Rosalina did die. I'm half expecting her to show up. Right, but the three of them had so much of a heart for Penacony that they left the Trailblaze to join Penacony and help it. And they did everything they could. And, they lost their lives. And the Watchmaker, Mikhail, at the very end of his life, he still hadn't saved Penacony from the Stellaron. And so he left a legacy for the future, and a plan for the Trailblazers to save it. That's the last thing he could do, is ask somebody else. Here once again, Tiernan, the same thing. At the very end of his life, the last thing he can do is just, he wants somebody to save Penacony. So both these men, just their whole lives just trying to save this damn place, because they cared about it so much. And they both were able to pass on a legacy to try to get people to help. And because of that, I mean, presumably we win at the end. I haven't got to the end. But because of that, they do it. Because we needed Acheron. And we needed us. We needed the future Trailblazers. So it worked. They didn't even know each other were alive anymore. But because of their actions, because of their care for this place, it's going to be saved. Because we're going to do it. Right? Because Acheron's not going to let this guy down. And we're not going to let Mikhail down. And it's just, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's heavy and it's beautiful, and I love it. I think when I get done with this and I'm thinking about like really the final thoughts of all this, I think that's one of the things that's gonna just hit me and stick with me. We'll see. But oh my god, we're still not done. The so that happens, and then you come back. She's trying to, there's like a scene where she's gonna grab his hand and pull him out, and he's gonna finally get out of this lake, this horrible place of infinite death. And then it goes back to you and Acheron. Remember, she told you to close your eyes. It's very similar. She's like, close your eyes and we'll go to where I need to go. But then she has a flashback where she does all this and then says to the guy, close his eyes. But then it comes back to us. So instead of grabbing him, now she's talking with us. She's taking us to the edge of existence, which is where she helped Adventurine move on to this place with this big black hole. I think it's the edge of existence, edge of something. It's a thing where, the nihility intersects with places, and essentially where she can take people on to help them move on and not get stuck in that other lake. So she's brought us here, and we're kind of seeing memories of the people we met and the statements they say. And then we talk to her, and she kind of explains once again that what she's going to do is make everybody want to save themselves, and the way she has to do that is put them in a very like threatening situation. When do people want to save themselves the most? Like when they're under threat of like dying or something. She uses the example of drowning in the ocean, right? You get desperate, and all you could think about is, I got to save myself, right? I got to get to the surface. So she's like, that's what she's gonna do. Because you're like, are you coming with us? And she's like, no, I got to do this. And then she says, but before I go, can I ask you some questions? And she asks you the same questions that the dream Acheron asked you at the very start of this chapter. Like, would you be willing to sever connections with the people by your own hands? If there was a perfect dream where everything could be perfect, would you want to live there? If you knew the perfection was going to end and everything was going to collapse, by the end of this journey, would you still take the journey? And what's interesting is when she asked you in 2.0, you had several options to pick from. And I watched a couple people's videos, and they always had the same options as me, so I'm not sure. But this time you only have one option, and it's the options you picked last time. Now, I don't know if I got lucky or if it just remembers. I think it remembers them. And so you have to answer the same way. So here you are at the beginning of the story. She's asking you questions that essentially really, really relate to the story you're about to do, and you're answering it. And now you've seen the story, you understand much more context to these questions, and you're only allowed to answer the way you did before. And it's like you get to examine your past self, your past thoughts. It's like, well, now that I've seen it actually play through, do I still agree with that? Do I still agree with my choices? Do I feel like I'm being forced to pick the wrong choice now? Or do I feel vindicated that I was right? That I stayed the same person and in like a good way, So I think that's really cool. I wish I remembered. I wasn't doing these little recap videos for 2.0, and so I don't remember it as well. Plus, it's been several months, so I don't remember it as well. But because I had to be reminded, people had to remind me, like, it was these same questions. I'm like, oh my god, they are the same questions. So she's asking those to you, and it's really interesting. And she says the same lines. It doesn't matter. Your answers don't matter. It just matters that you made the choice. And then it flashes, which is exactly what she said to you right before she murdered you, to wake you up from the initial dream that you were trapped in when you first traveled to Penacony. Then it goes back to the flashback with her and the old man. There's a part 2. And the old man, comments on how she's part of Nihility, but she's fighting against it. And she's like, well, that's what I do. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to help these people. And he's like, you know what? All right, we want to have meaningless acts. What's your name? And she hesitates. And he's like, you know what? I'm probably going to fade away and no one will ever remember me or you or this conversation. But the people should know your name. Your name should be remembered. So tell me. And somehow the universe will remember it. And she goes on a little speech about how some things are hard for her to remember, but some things are hard for her to forget. And it's a little hard to interpret her words, but it's something. I think what she is saying is her name ended up being, the thing that would guide her life, even though she didn't know it at the time. And her name has this, it's in the middle of, it take. I'm stumbling over this, dude. I'm really tired. But it's what led her to the red and the life and the existence that she cares so much about. That's why she's fighting against the Nihility, because she's all about red, which is the color for her of life, and about savoring life. Even with the Trailblazer, when she's talking to us a little bit ago, she was telling us to focus on the life and savoring it and enjoying it, because, like, and one of the things she tells to the old man in the previous flashback is like, come with me. Death will be the end of your boundless dream, and then you will finally live. Right? There's this concept. It's always about life for her. So she's closely associated with death, and everything she's doing is with death. But it's all about living, just like this dream is death, but living is waking up. You know what I mean? There's questions throughout this whole chapter of what is the meaning of dreaming, and why do we dream, and why do we wake up, and is escaping to a false reality any different than just being dead? It's a dream, but are you alive? And so there's just this constant. So she's really focused on life. I went all the tangent there. She's really focused on life and red. Right? These red letters keep coming up. The red letters have been coming up through this when she asks you the questions again, just like when she asked them the first time. These red letters are coming up. And she makes a couple comments about how these things, this tempest has always been there. The red's always been there. My name has always been there. And she says her name, and it's Raiden Bosenmori May. It's Raiden May. Which got me even while I was playing it, because as somebody who really loves Honkai Impact, and is kind of acquainted with the Hoyoverse, I don't know. That's just pretty important. That's really the themes that you catch with that character. It's different character, but we see some of them. Like, I don't know. It's like, I'll say it in this clip here in a second, but it's not something that's really that important unless you're just a Hoyo fan and Raiden May is important to you. But I'm a Hoyo fan, and Raiden May is important to me, and it really hit me. It was really cool. This whole time, everybody knows this is the May character, but here she said it. She said her name's Raiden May. She is May. I don't know. It hit me harder than like any of the other ones, because the other ones are kind of. I mean, well, Sailor looks a lot different, but I mean, Bronya's Bronya, but she doesn't act like Bronya or anything, and she's Bronya from the beginning, and there's a lot of parallels with Cocolia and stuff, and it's cool. But this one was hidden, just like this whole chapter 3 has been hidden things that are revealed, and we all knew it was May, but it's been hidden, and then they uncovered it in this really touching scene. And you're like, well, of course it's May. Who else would it be? The Bosenmori is a bit of a throw. As far as I know, no one, that's never been her middle name, or no one's known her middle name. I did look it up. I did look it up. Like Raiden, right? It's thunder. She was talking about the Tempests earlier. Raiden is thunder. Um, but Bozen Mori is apparently, according to what I found on the internet, is like guardian of the river of sorrow. No, the river of forgetfulness, because Acheron's the river of sorrow. So it's all references to um, the rivers in the Greek conception of the underworld. You know, so she's kind of like the boatman taking people across the river Styx, right? Well, Bozenmori is apparently another reference to that, but it's the river of forgetfulness. You know, and she has trouble with forgetting things. She's an emanator of nihility, where things she's constantly losing stuff. And I think when she's kind of given some cryptic things before she says her name about how that could be interpreted as like her name ended up guiding her life when she didn't even know it. It's like, well, here she is. That Bozamori really applies. Guardian of a river, and she's forgetting everything. So I think that's what it is. I'm pretty sure this is a Star Rail only thing. You know, this is the special Star Rail version. Like the Genshin version is Raiden I. You know, there's no M. You know, that's unique to her. I think this Bozamori is unique to Acheron. But damn, it really did hit me hard that it was Raiden May, and I don't know. I don't know how to explain it other than just, you know, you have a lot of the story in Honkai is really good, kind of like this story is really good, but I felt like this chapter 3 has been good enough to be the Honkai story. Um, so you know, I have like a lot of emotions tied into that Honkai story. It means a lot to me. I got one of the art books because I grinded hard when they gave them out for people, and it kills me that I didn't get the second one because I just didn't have any time. But I got the first one, you know, so it's okay. Because I mean that game just means a lot to me. That game means a lot to me. I can't really play it right now, but I'm playing Star Rail, and it's kind of working out. It's like, well, I'm still playing a Hoyo game. It says Honkai on it, and this story's picking up. So it's like, you know, I would like to play all the Hoyo games because their stories are so damn good. But Honkai hit me the most until Star Rail. Star Rail's now hitting me, and I'm having fun with it. So it was really cool to see Raiden May, and it meant a lot to me. It means a lot to me that Hoyo cares about its characters, you know? And it's like they're not gonna mess Acheron up because she's May. They're not pulling May out just because, oh, it's fan service and we're gonna get all the gotcha dollars. It's like, no, they actually care. Like, this is an important character to their company, to their story, the story of Hoyo. And so they're gonna do right by her. And I don't know. I mean, like I said, I haven't seen the very end of this chapter, but it sure as hell seems like they've done right by her, and she's one of the coolest fucking characters. And I do not regret saving my pulls to make sure I got her and stuff. Because she's great. So this hit me pretty hard. However, that's kind of an aside. It's not really associated with the story. It's just a thing for Hoyo fans. So if you recall, because I'm about to play the last thing here, if you recall, what we're doing is she is going to do the last thing. We've got several things. We've got Heroes Woken Up. We've got Boothill going to call in the Galaxy Rangers. We got Robin going to do her song. And Acheron's explained to us that she's got to essentially push everyone in the direction of needing to survive, right? Needing to wake up and save themselves. And so you get this fantastic cutscene. It's been such, you know, I said like the last climax was so rewarding because everything came together. This climax is probably even more rewarding because everything comes together again. It is the second climax of chapter 3, and it's beautiful. And I'm going to play it because I just want to show it to you. I'm going to use my footage and from the stream, and so you will see me in the corner looking a little bit different, and it'll be my live reaction because I wasn't too cringe. I'm sorry if it still is a little cringe because it's still going to be me talking over it. a little bit. But I think it's best to show my own footage, and you will see my live reaction to it, and then I'll come back and talk to you, and there won't be too much more to talk about. This video's been quite long because I'm just so tired. I just so, but here we go. Right, so Acheron says she's gonna do her thing. You see this big cutscene where she reveals her name, which is just really, it's a big deal. It's super, it just has a lot of weight. And then it plays this. She really is me. So that's just me talking. It's not really relevant to anybody but Hoyo fan, but...
The Golden Dream is getting restless. In the coming long nights, I'm afraid you will face many setbacks.
It's raining.
And witness many tragedies. And in the end,
it's not supposed to rain.
You will only see in black and white.
Yo, he did it!
But please believe me, that in that monochrome world, there will be a glimpse of fleeting red. And when you make a choice, it will appear once more.
Yo, she's deleting the whole thing! Yo, the Galaxy Rangers coming in. We're falling again?
What you must do is ponder its significance. Then return to the waking world.
What?
That's where we all find our answers.
Yo, she pulls out the pizza cutter? What? What?
Broken free from the dream of order.
Oh, he's got 3 phases?
Enough sleeping already. Let's show them a wake-up call.
He's got 3 phases. Then I freak out about it a little more. Then I freak out a little bit. But yeah, that's as far as we got. So we didn't actually get the boss fight. I got to cliffhang everybody. And hopefully I'll be able to... I'm not going to get any sleep tonight, but hopefully I'll be able to wake up in time so it's not a super late stream and we'll be able to see it. But yeah, you that line, the line that I really wanted you to hear the audio, because Acheron's line, I mean, you can tell me if it's too cringe for to show my live reaction of me geeking out about it. But I really wanted you to hear the Acheron line, because that's the line she tells you right before she murders you, right? And you know, this idea, this red coming twice. Is it like, well, she murdered you the first time and now she's gonna murder you again, right? But this time she murders all of Penacony. She pretty much murders everyone in the dream, and that's where they get their wake-up call, their desire to live, because she essentially wipes them out in the dream. And then you wake up. And then you wake up and she helps you with that little pull. She's like, hey, remember it when you see that crimson the second time. Ponder its meaning. You know, to make your choice, ponder its meaning. And then you can get out. And then here we are. She gives it that last little push, that last little pull, and then we're there with the train gang. It's it was just such an epic scene. It was just... Right, it was as good as this scene, and then like the scene where the other one I played for you with audio with, where Kalis gets the hat, you know, and Shippei smiles on him when they're stand up to Sunday. I mean, these are the scenes I think are like the most powerful so far. I don't know, maybe there's one at the very end or something. But yeah, and then you got to fight him again, and as you can see, he's harder. He's got 3 phases this time, not just the one. And I kind of briefly previewed them. Yeah, the third phase, they get harder. Each phase gets harder. So it's gonna be wild. And now we got to do the fight again. I had different people, but I think I might switch it up again to try to. If I had Welt, I'd put him in there, but I don't. So, because I had Acheron in the team, and I was like, because I didn't know she was gonna leave, and then she's like, she's left. So like, maybe I shouldn't put her on the team. Maybe I can get that train gang so it matches the cutscene. That'd be really cool. So that's it. That's what we did. It was the big twist of chapter 3, and then the second climax, because you had a false climax, and then it's very quickly wrapping up, and you realize something's wrong, and then there's a twist, and you didn't actually do it, and you've got to rebuild it up. And I thought it was great. With Boothill at his thing, we saw the Galaxy Ranger send off, that salute they did. So Tiernan got his two final regrets, answered. He got that send off for his friend, and it's the thing that ignites the Galaxy Rangers coming back out of kind of like hiding or retirement. They were still working, but nobody really, everyone thought they were gone. Brings it's like his like dying wishes is not just giving his friends a send off. It's bringing the Galaxy Rangers back. It's helping everybody, and his dying wish to save Penacony is here helping everybody, because we're gonna take this piece of shit out and then save Penacony, and it's gonna be something. Probably we'll get to see. Now, we didn't see Robin's song. If I had to guess, we might see it when we finally take this guy out. That might be the final blow, is Robin sings the proper song. I don't know, we'll find out. Supposedly the long play only has like 30 minutes left or something, and I think 20 minutes of it are the boss fight, and then there's like a final wrap up where you see the final scenes. So we'll do all that tomorrow. Hopefully I get some sleep and I'm able to start it. I really just all sorts of things. There's like all sorts of things got in my way today for trying to play this before and after. But I don't know. I'm glad to have made this video for you and done the stream. All right. Well, I would usually try to like summarize what we did, but I think I already did, and I'm really tired. So I'll just wrap it up. So thank you for watching. I don't know. I hope I'm able to just communicate some of the some of how great this story is to me, to you guys. Just share that with you, because it's really cool. I'm really having a good time with it, and I just want to share it. So that's kind of the point of all this. So thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. You made it this far, certainly. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, whatever you're going to do. And I'll catch you in the next one. See the end of Penacony. See you around.